how do you choose a topic, right? Okay, so now we've talked about, are you going to teach it on your own, or are you going to teach it with somebody else? Do you have to be the expert in a topic to teach it, or like what methods have you used? I'm going to start with Brian, because I think his topic at DevLearn was definitely different than the others that we've seen. So talk to us about that.
The secret to mine was I fell asleep on the couch and woke up in the middle of the night to a TV show that I never watched, and I learned something interesting. And that's honest to goodness the truth of how I found this topic. I woke up in the middle of the night on my couch and was watching a TV show where they started talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect. And never heard of it. So I started looking into it. And then I found this study about the beginner's bubble hypothesis that David Dunning, who was one half of the Dunning-Kruger effect, established. And I thought, oh, this was really interesting. And the more I researched it, the more I looked at it, I thought there's some really interesting connection to adult learning and learning and development and what I do for my career. And that's where I went with it. So stay up late and fall asleep on the couch, and you'll be golden.
I don't know. Oh, I don't know if that's good advice, because we may end up with sessions about OxyClean in the middle of the night.
I might say yes to that.
Or DD7. Like, do you guys remember the infomercials on DD7?
Don't tell me you would not stay up and watch Billy Mays do a learning and development presentation.
I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably do that.
Absolutely.
I'd probably watch one on ShamWow or something.
Yes.
Me too. Oh yeah, there we go.
What I would say, Kristen, honestly, and this is the best advice I could give you, is if you find a topic that's interesting to you, it's going to be interesting to other people. I mean, there's no question about it. And we all come into this with different experiences and different histories. And so even if it's something that somebody else may have spoken on 3 years previously, you're coming into this with a different approach and a different angle. So the two things I would say is find a topic that's interesting to you, and two, find a topic that you're going to be able to present real world practical application on how to address it. Because if you're talking about something that's kind of pie in the sky and it's not something that you can really apply, it's not going to be as engaging, and it's going to be white noise. And so you're better off finding something that's interesting to you, that you can provide practical application to make it interesting to the people who are participating in your session.
For sure. Thanks. That's super interesting. And I think you mentioned something a little bit earlier, and I kind of just want to follow up on it. You mentioned how, you came home and you talked to your wife. You said, oh, I can't believe, what my boss said. I should apply to present at DevLearn. How did you sort of overcome, I guess, that, and I don't know if you ever felt that sort of imposter syndrome, but like self-doubt, really, how did you gain that confidence to say, you know what, I can do it and I'm going to kill it?
You want to know the honest answer?
Yes.
I never did. So I will tell you, my session was at noon on the first day, October 19th. And at 11:55, I was scared out of my mind. Honest goodness truth. And the producer who was in there with me, and I'm blanking on her name, but she was so wonderful. She sat there and she talked me through it. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to approach this.
Was it Bianca Woods?
It was not me.
It was not Bianca. It was
Karen Gleason?
Yes, it was Karen Gleason.
Oh, Karen Gleason's a dream to work with.
Karen was rad. And I will tell you, Karen actually made me laugh because, I looked, this was what I look like now was my DevLearn profile picture, but I had cut my hair, I'd cut my beard, I had my glasses on, which I didn't have in my picture. And she's like, I really think we have the wrong person in here. I mean, she helped roll. I mean, she did, but it was relaxing that she just kind of prepped me for what I was going to do. And then once I started, once I went live, I just went for it. Thanks. and didn't even I looked at the chat. I didn't look at the numbers a whole lot of who was in my session. I just went for it. But honestly, Kristen, I was nervous up until that day. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I think every one of us, and I don't want to speak for Betty or Bianca, but I think every one of us, that first time you go out there, there's something extremely exciting about doing it, and it's a blast, but it is terrifying at the same time because you don't know what people are going to say and how people are going to respond. But the truth is, everyone's really going to be pretty responsive and pretty engaging and ask questions. And once you get to that point, then you're in good shape and you can just go for it.
I admire that. And I feel like you just, from, what I gather, what you say, like, just step into the arena, like, be courageous, be brave. And I feel like that's what I'm trying to work on right now.
It's hard. I mean, one of the things I've been doing a lot with the Guild is looking at what about our processes trigger imposter syndrome for people. I've talked to a number of people who are current speakers who haven't proposed to try and figure out what's getting in the way. And there are things in the proposal process, there are things in the presentation process that really bring it up for people of feeling like, who am I to speak on this? Who am I to present? Who am I to get in front of this room? And this whole idea of expertise, it's really subjective. And I think that's the thing that's got to be comforting is depending on the room, one person is an expert and they're not. Like, I'm an expert in math in a room full of 5-year-olds. Am I an expert in math? Nothing against math. I love math. Am I an expert in math in a room full of people with master's degrees in it? No. But do you have some expertise that the people in the room don't necessarily have, or an angle on it that they don't have? I talk about visual design. I have quite a few degrees in that. But I also talk about video games. I don't have degrees in video games. I've just played a lot of video games. But I have an angle on the inspiration from that. And sometimes I'll do presentations on that. People who have case studies. You're the expert in your story. No one else in the room has had your story. And, one of the things that I'll sometimes tell people who don't feel like they're an expert in anything is to bring a case study, because you are absolutely the expert in that. No doubt about that. But it's hard. I mean, Brian, you talked about being kind of nervous beforehand. I've been doing this for years. I still get nervous. You just sort of go, I'll get over it. When you're in the middle of doing it, it feels really fantastic. But yeah, sometimes the butterflies stick.
One of the things else, go ahead.
Hold on. What was the stick comment? What'd you say?
Oh, sometimes the butterflies stick. It's okay.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It does not mean that you are not ready.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, one of the other things I did, Kristen, that was the best thing I could have done is I looked for people in my network that I trusted, who I knew would give me honest feedback. And I said, here's what I'm proposing. Here's what I'm thinking about proposing before I ever sent my proposal. This is what I'm thinking about proposing. What do you think? And I will tell you, and I'm not saying this because I don't want to make it sound like she will do it all the time, right? But the first person I emailed my idea to was Bianca. And she was very nice. I sent her a message on LinkedIn. I said, hey, I'm really nervous about this. I'm thinking about doing this. And what do you think? And she was so helpful. She sent back information and said, this is what I think. And you might not have enough time to fill this, but here's what I would recommend. And so I tightened it up a little bit. And then I sent a message to another friend of mine on LinkedIn. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about proposing at DevLearn. What do you think? And this is what I'm looking at doing. And the response I got was, oh my gosh, you have to do this. It's amazing. And this is a great topic and you've got to go for it. And when you have those people that you trust, and they're not just feeding you lip service, they're not just telling you what you want to hear, but they're giving you valuable feedback on how to approach this, then you're going to be better off when you make that proposal. And then when you get the response, when you find out that and you get accepted, then you have a direction to build that as you get ready for the conference.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, I am nervous every time. And to the point, like, where the first 10 minutes, like, I'm like, because I'm like talking so fast because I'm so nervous. And then all of a sudden there'll be a marked moment where I just sort of, and my shoulders come up out my ears. And then you're in the groove and like the adrenaline is flowing. There's lots of dopamine happening, especially the more people there are. I'm obviously better in person. Like, I tell people that all the time, like, they'll say, oh, your session was great. I'm like, you should see me in person, because like, it's just, because I feed off the crowd and that relaxes me sooner. So, I think the answer, all of these answers are correct, is that, you got to embrace the butterflies. You got to, embrace the nerves and use them to push you forward, not keep you quiet.
I love that.